Hello everyone, welcome to Miscellaneous Monthly Part 6. My name is Tim, and today I'm going to be discussing a very serious comparison. I personally think that there is something I just want to get off my shoulders because it might be a controversial opinion. I believe that Fraser Edwards is better than Dragonforce. Now, if you might be wondering, who is Fraser Edwards? Well, it turns out he is a power metal musician from Great Britain who is probably most famous for writing a song called Stop Saying We Sound Like Dragonforce because, well, some of his fans accused him of sounding a lot like Dragonforce, and yeah, I've listened to a lot of his music, and I'm gonna discuss all my reasons on why I think that he's a better musician than Dragonforce. And also, when I say he's a better musician, I mean his band, since it's not just one person. So yeah, that's just some clarification, and now, let's go on to reason number 1.
And for 1 million quid, I will finally admit that I sound a lot like Dragonforce, but just a little bit more shit.
Fraser Edwards is super wealthy as a musician. Let me explain. So Fraser Edwards has multiple bands. It's not just Fraser Edwards. There's also Ascension, which is another band project, and also a children's band called Sharky Sharky, which is a rock band for children, and it's shark themed. Oh, I wonder where else I've seen that. It's totally like there isn't a video on YouTube with like 14 billion views that's themed around sharks, and there's some reason a TV show about it. And yeah, I think you're getting at it. And also, this technically makes sense for one reason. My claim of Fraser Edwards being rich makes a lot of sense when you realize that Sharky Sharky was created in 2012 when Baby Shark was made in 2016. So by logic, Fraser Edwards rightfully owns the rights to the Baby Shark franchise, which would give his band roughly $125 million to play with. And while we're at it, let's include the entire Sharknado franchise, which is estimated to be worth about $4.5 billion. So, if we add up the Baby Shark franchise and the Sharknado franchise for mixing sharks and music together in some capacity, then Fraser Edwards' band should be worth approximately $4.6 billion. And also, I don't know, let's throw in some Blahage plushies from IKEA, just to round it up to $5 billion, because that's a much easier to say number, and it's much prettier. Meanwhile, compare that to Dragonforce, whose combined net worth is probably like $10 million or something like that. And yeah, they don't even compare to the Fraser Edwards band. Also, when Fraser Edwards' songs support my Patreon, he calls himself the J.D. Salinger of power metal, which, if you don't know, that's the dude who wrote Catcher in the Rye, when in reality, he's more like the J.D. Rockefeller of power metal, if anything. And now, let's go on to reason 2 why Fraser Edwards is better.
I know there's a lot, but it's getting pretty dark!
Instruments. I personally believe that Fraser Edwards is better on an instrument basis, because, seriously, what does Dragonforce have? They have synthesizers, drums, guitar. At one point, they had a triangle involved. Meanwhile, Fraser Edwards has a genuine piano. They have banjos for their country music video, The Harvest. And they also have all the regular instruments that Dragonforce has as well. And that's pretty much all for my statement. They have a lot more instrumental variety, all things considered.
Spin your partner around and round. If she's a witch, then she won't drown, so get your bricks and fetch the town, cause we're bringing this hoe down!
Fraser Edward is an icon among the farming community for one reason and one reason alone. The Harvest. The Harvest is a song that was made by Fraser Edwards back in 2022, and it's basically country-themed power metal, and it did really well on his YouTube channel. Like, the video itself is at almost 1 million views as of making this, which, for someone as obscure as Fraser Edwards, that's pretty darn good, all things considered. And Fraser effectively created a super obscure subgenre of a subgenre. Extreme country power metal. that is the genre he created, and I'm gonna take a guess that a lot of farmers probably like it, maybe. I don't know, and I'm not entirely sure if there's even a statistic for that. But anyway, on to reason 4.
Stop saying we sound like Dragonforce, okay? They used to be my favorite band.
Fraser Edwards is better than Dragonforce when it comes to audience range for a few reasons. Fraser Edwards operates 3 bands: Fraser Edwards, Sharky Sharky, and Ascension. Sharky Sharky being their children's themed band, and Ascension essentially being their original foray into music, being founded all the way back in 2009, which is before Fraser Edwards was founded, which was founded back in 2016, technically making Fraser Edwards the youngest part of this 3-band group. And to my knowledge, Dragonforce only has 2 bands, just Dragonforce and Mark Hudson's individual projects on his own. So Dragonforce's range of appeal is only 2 bands, meanwhile the range of appeal for Fraser Edwards is 3 bands. And now, let's go on to the final and most important reason of all.
When you give your all and you can't fight anymore, sweat and blood drips down from your face!
Fraser Edwards has a Patreon, and something about it that's special is he wrote a song promoting it, literally called Support My Patreon. In my opinion, Support My Patreon by Fraser Edwards is the greatest self-promotion I've ever seen in my life. First off, the song is well written, the instrumental is really awesome, and also, the song is also self-aware as well, because Fraser Edwards acknowledges that he doesn't sound as good as Dragonforce, but that he sounds similar to Dragonforce in some capacity. And also, the song is just really good in my opinion. I highly recommend you take a listen to it, and maybe, just maybe, after listening to it, you might potentially support his Patreon. I don't know, I've actually considered it before, because one part of me wants to learn how to play guitar like him, because he's pretty good at playing guitar, all things considered. And that right there is all for Miscellaneous Monthly Part 6. This video was a lot shorter than the other Miscellaneous Monthly videos, but also, that's because this was going to be a shorter video. After all, I had a whole bunch of projects I've been working on over the past few months, and Miscellaneous Monthly has kind of been put to the side in order to work on those other projects and stuff like that. I'm actually working on a new 3D printing project after my RC car. It's a big surprise, and I'll tell you about it later in my community tab. So, if you want to check that out, I'll probably talk about it in like a few weeks or so. And one thing I can say for certain, both of these bands are infinitely better than Hanatarash, which is a Japanese noise band that sounds something like this. Yeah, I feel like that's a little something we can all agree on, and anyway, that's all. See you in part 7. Bye!